All right, today we had a bit of a different video. I interviewed Bailey Sasseville, who is a genetic counseling student. She's going to be a second year student at University of Pittsburgh, which is where I'm at undergrad. She also went here undergrad, and it is really cool that Pitt has its own genetic counseling program. Yeah, it's going to be a great video. I hope you guys enjoy it. It'll be a different perspective than just a actual practicing counselor. And here it is. I hope you enjoy it. Just to start off, would you mind giving a brief intro of yourself? I guess where you went to school and what your status is right now?
Sure. So my name is Bailey Sasseville. I am a current, second year now at the Pitt Genetic Counseling Program. I actually went to Pitt for undergrad as well. I double majored in biology and fiction writing. And currently I'm going through my cancer genetics rotation.
Okay, great. So, what did you do in undergrad? If you could just give a brief rattle off of your accolades of what you did to prepare for genetic counseling school in undergrad.
Sure. So I tried to check off a lot of those boxes, the things you see on program websites that they encourage you to do before you apply. So tried to take all the right classes and get good grades. Tried to do some advocacy work. So I worked for a crisis helpline here in Pittsburgh. I also was an intern at a cancer nonprofit organization that gave social and emotional support to people affected by cancer. And I also tried to learn about genetic counseling in any way I could. And then one more interesting thing I think is that I've always been really interested in writing, so I decided to continue that in undergrad with my major in fiction. But I also tried to do a lot of extracurriculars with writing, like being editor in chief for our science magazine. And we also had an undergraduate genetic counseling club. And I helped us start a newsletter for that, helping other undergrad students learn about genetic counseling, how to get into the field, things like that. So I think when I was applying to programs, that was something I really focused on is taking that unique experience and talking a lot about how that could help make me a better genetic counselor. So I talked a lot about how, communication is really the cornerstone of genetic counseling, and writing, of course, is a fundamental part of communication that just helps you think about it more in depth, and how I thought that would make me a better genetic counselor in the future. So, if there's any advice to give to potential applicants out there, it's to not only check off all those boxes, or as many as you can, but think about how your experiences, your really unique experiences, what makes you you, can help you be a better genetic counselor in the future.
That's really great advice. That's really awesome with starting the newsletter because it is so important to try to spread awareness because it's such a small field, and that's great and really exciting that it is growing really fast and everything. But that's kind of what I'm
Absolutely.
trying to do with this channel is spread some awareness. So I love the newsletter thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I didn't even know about genetic counseling until I was a freshman in undergrad. So I think helping people learn about it, giving them a little bit more of a head start than I did, I think that's really useful.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess another question I have is what are you doing right now? So I don't think you're not doing classes or anything for your program right now in the summer.
So we have one class session a week during the summer. Um, but yeah, the most of my time is spent doing my clinical rotation. So I see patients in clinic a couple days a week, and the rest of the time I'm prepping for cases that I'm going to see, doing follow up, doing some assignments, and we're also starting to work on our thesis projects over the summer. So that's kind of what it looks like once you're in clinical rotations. It's going to be different depending on which rotation you're in, but that's what it looks like in cancer right now. And Pitt has a confidence building model. So they have the majority of their coursework during the first year. So during the first year, you're pretty much just a full time student taking classes. For us, it was over Zoom. Hopefully, we'll be in person in the future. So most of your time is spent taking classes and studying that first year.
Okay, great. That was my next question, was what a typical day looks like for you. So I guess it's really just the way that Pitt does it is classwork in the first year or so, and then mainly just rotations in the second year.
Yep. So they like to give you all the information that you need, get you as prepared as possible before sending you out into the field to start practicing that. And programs will do it different ways, but that's Pitt style. That's something I really liked about the program and something I wanted.
Okay, great. I was going to ask what led you to enroll in the program you ended up enrolling in, which I'm assuming maybe your undergrad was a contributor. It is nice that we have a program here, but I'm curious what else played a factor for you.
Yeah, definitely. So being here for undergrad, I knew Pitt had a fantastic genetic counseling program. So that was already kind of higher at the top of my list. But when I went through applications and interviewing and all that, there were a lot of other things I thought about. With Pitt, what I really liked, the confidence building model, as I mentioned, that just depends on someone's personal learning style. Some people like to go through classes and clinical rotations at the same time and start trying to incorporate all that at once. I liked the ability to have a part time job while you're going through the program. I really liked that all the clinical rotations are right here in Pittsburgh. You can get to any of them through the bus system, and students get free transportation through the buses. I know some programs you have to, travel a little bit farther, and I think this just works better for my personal preferences. I also really liked that our program is in the School of Public Health. So we do have the option for the dual degree with the MPH, but even without that, you get a really well rounded education in public health. And I thought that was really unique and interesting and something I really liked. But I think a lot of it in the end came down to going through interviews and getting a gut feeling. Something I was told a lot is that you're interviewing these programs as much as they're interviewing you. So you're really just trying to feel each other out, find a space where you're going to fit in, where you're going to succeed. So taking all of those factors into account when I was finished with all my interviews, I just kind of had a gut feeling that Pitt was my top choice. So I put that at the top of my rank list, and through the match system, I luckily matched with Pitt, which I was very happy about.
That's awesome.
Mhm.
And are you doing the MPH system? Did you opt in for that track?
I did not, but many of my classmates are doing that.
Okay,
Mhm.
awesome.
Yeah, it does take, I think, usually a couple extra months. You'll be taking more classes the second year than the regular GC only students. But still 2 degrees in 2 years, pretty impressive.
For sure. What would you say is your favorite part of being in a genetic counseling program?
Really just knowing that I'm going to get to be a genetic counselor one day. I think that's just super cool.
That's awesome. I really love how it's set up that you are doing rotations and you get to really, you're kind of set up and molded into a counselor instead of just having the education and then you need to get a job and then get some experience. It seems like you really come out of it very prepared no matter where you go.
Exactly, definitely. I mean, in my cancer rotation, you know, the first couple of days they start you out doing parts of that counseling session, and by the third week or so, you're doing the whole counseling session on your own with a counselor there, of course, to support you, jump in whenever needed. But yeah, I mean, it's really cool getting to have that hands-on practice. I think is really important and really helps you practice all of those skills that you've been learning. Yeah, it's been great so far.
That's awesome. And on the flip side, what would you say is the hardest part of being a GC student?
I think the hardest part is that there is just so much information to learn, so many classes to take. And genetics is a huge field, and we have so much to learn. So I think that can be a little bit overwhelming at times. And then, honestly, once you get into clinical rotations, you start to realize that's really only the tip of the iceberg. Um, Even after having my cancer genetic counseling class, now that I'm in my cancer rotation, there's just so much more that I'm learning every day, and so much more that I know genetic counselors learn when they actually start working in the field. So I think it's a difficult part, but one that's also really an enjoyable challenge for a lot of genetic counselors.
Okay, that's great. I mean, that definitely makes sense. We're learning so much about this field, like every year, every day, even. So, um, I guess even once you're out of school, there's always going to be more to learn, which is exciting as well as, a bit of a challenge. But
Absolutely. It's hard to imagine what the field is going to look like even in 10 years. It's going to be so much different from now.
mhm, very exciting though to be in part of, for sure.
Yeah.
And I guess this would apply kind of to me or anyone else in a current undergrad situation, but what is a one piece of advice that you didn't know when you were in my position that you know now and you would give to someone who's applying or thinking of applying?
Um, I guess I would say to have confidence in yourself and in your experiences, whether or not you match with a program. It's very, very competitive to get into a program, and there's a lot of really qualified people that unfortunately just don't happen to get in during application cycles. So I think having the confidence in yourself to know that you would still make a really good genetic counselor, and you just need to keep working and reapplying, and hopefully it'll all work out. And I know that's easy to say as someone who's in a program, but you know, as someone who did have a lot of stress and anxiety going through that application process, I think it's important to focus on your abilities and where you're at and how much you've succeeded anyways.
For sure. Do you have you got in on your first try then for your
I did. I was very lucky about that.
That's great. Another thing that you reminded me of when you were mentioning something earlier, you did mention having a part-time job. I'm
Mhm.
curious how, I guess it really varies between different programs, but what would you say the student life is like with kind of a balance between school and free time and other obligations?
Sure. It's honestly been hard to evaluate with COVID going on. I know usually students are able to, hang out, go on trips to bars together, things like that. So I think there is definitely a pretty healthy work-life balance, even with working. Um, Not all of our students do work. It's completely up to them. I know that we've during COVID, we did a lot of Zoom get togethers, Zoom happy hours, things like that, which was really nice. Tried to do as many picnics outside as we could, tried to get together in any way. And now, of course, we're all pretty much vaccinated. Things are calming down. We've been able to start going out to restaurants together, things like that. So definitely time to work hard, but also have a lot of fun together, which has been really nice.
That's really great. Yeah, it seems like it is going in a positive direction going into the next semester. So hope that
Absolutely.
continues to get better for you guys.
Yep. And now we've got our new first years who are going to be coming in soon. And so we're all really excited to get to know them and be able to have a class that we can interact with more than we were able to with our second years.
Yeah, that'll be really great, especially to be serve as kind of maybe like a mentorship system to
Mhm.
the new students.
Yeah, absolutely. And we actually do have a buddy system. So every incoming student is paired up with an older student to kind of serve as a guide, help them through the program, answer any questions they have, things like that, which was definitely really helpful for me, I know.
That's super smart. I think that's a great idea to have.
Absolutely.
How many are in your cohort?
We have 12 in my year and 12 in the incoming year.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I don't want to take up too much of your time. That was very helpful, and those are all the questions I had for you right now. But um, I really appreciate you taking the time to give me some insight onto what it's like being a current student.
Of course, I was happy to talk about it.
Thank you. All right. You have a great rest of your day.
You too.
All right, so that was Bailey Sasseville. I really appreciate her taking the time to talk with me. It's really nice to get the perspective of a current student. And I know a lot of the different genetic counseling programs are different in the way they structure their classes versus their clinical rotations, just the way that the work-life balance is at that school. The different attributes of each program are very different. There's only a couple of them, so they all are kind of unique in their own way. Hopefully I'll be able to talk to some more students that are currently a first or second year genetic counseling student, get some more insights and perspectives that they have, and create a really good resource for you guys to learn some more about the field. All right, I'll see you next time.